Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. I think this is actually the very first video that I'm going to be talking about this little project. You might have seen a few videos here and there, but this is about the time that I'm going to talk about this. So, this is supposed to be, quite simply, a handheld, I'm not quite sure about the portable part, but a handheld text-based adventure game console. And it's really supposed to be only used to play one type of game, a text-based adventure, as the name might imply. The idea for this project came to me way back when Fallout 3 came out. As a matter of fact, it wasn't even an idea for a text-based adventure, it was just an idea for my very own Pip-Boy. And, of course, this here kind of has reminiscing qualities of a Pip-Boy, and there's a lot of sources of inspiration that I've borrowed from a design of a Pip-Boy, mainly the big old switches on the right there. And very old school switches and buttons, but for the most part, back then, it was just an idea for a Pip-Boy. And as a matter of fact, what I wanted to do with the Pip-Boy was to keep track of the points for Warhammer 40k games that myself and Tim would play together. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't be for many years that I would actually get into Warhammer, despite having spent money on the miniatures. So that was the original plan, but back then I didn't really have the skills and know-how and the insight to build one. But nowadays I think I've built up enough to give this project a try, and that's kind of what I've been working on for the past month or so. This is supposed to be a text-based adventure game. There's my giant forehead in a reflection. Fantastic. And it runs on the Raspberry Pi compute module, which is actually that little guy right there. As you can see, it's currently separate from the rest of the stock. This blue bit right here is essentially the development board that allows me to easily plug in the HDMI and USB and network adapter right there. And just allows me to kind of program it without having to design my own circuit board. But realistically, if I were to unplug the power for the Raspberry Pi, realistically, all that we have to see here is this green guy right here. Stay. There we go. This is the Raspberry Pi compute module. The first time I tried to record this, I actually dropped this thing, so I'm kind of happy that it still runs. And I like it. If you take a look at the bottom, it basically has the design of a DDR2 RAM stick, so all those gold-plated pins is what allows you to connect to the various GPIO pins, Ethernet, USB, HDMI, it's all here. So, that's the board itself. What I wanted to do is use this particular style of a Raspberry Pi because of its easy to access pin set. And if I ever make this into anything of the sort of a commercial project, I want the experience of popping this thing in to be a part of the retro experience. So the basic idea is that you slide this sucker in, press that. Oh, I feel like you missed it because of the blurriness. Okay, and we're going to pop that shield in. This is just a little development board that allows me to solder wires directly to the board itself instead of directly to the pins of the development board, because I don't want to ruin this thing. And we're gonna go ahead and plug the power in, and we'll take a look at what the progress has been on this little project and where it stands. The blue screen is for the LCD, not detecting any signal, but that is going to change now. Alright, I'm gonna turn off my scope so it doesn't distract us. There we go. Perfect. There's the Raspberry Pi. We're going to give it a second to load up the operating system, which is running headless Raspbian, so there is no graphical user interface for the inventory, for the OS, so it's all just command line stuff, which seems to give me more resources just a little bit. There we go. So it says Raspberry Pi, log in. It's expecting us to log in, so we're not going to do it here. We're actually going to do it on the computer. What I need to do right now is establish a new SSH connection. We're going to pop this sucker right down here and type in the password, and there we go. We're in. So I'm going to give you guys a demonstration of what this where this project is right now, and it's just about starting to come to life in terms of the core function set, the core feature set, and interactability. So I'm going to quickly pop in my there we go, Python 3 running on Python, and a game engine called Pygame, and we're going to run the Lonesome Trail game. Alright, so as you can see right away, it starts to print some description of the room they're currently located in. We got a little bit of sound coming out of the speaker right here. I got a little amplifier sitting on the side, amplifying the sound for the speaker. We're going to press enter on the keyboard right now in order to skip it from the typing effect and just get straight to printing it. Let me also turn down the brightness and lock that in. Okay, fantastic. So this is all text-based adventure. So there's no animations, no 3D models, no sprites, no collisions, for now at least, and it's all just text-based. I've never done a text-based game before. I've never done an RPG game before, so this is all very new to me, and that's why I feel like it's a really interesting experiment. I got some effects going on down here with a CRT effect, and it's printing you the description of the room, right? Dilapidated living room with haphazardly boarded up windows, rays of light stripped through the cracks, yada yada yada. So I'm trying to kind of do some writing stuff here, and obviously this is where the quality of writing is where most of the description is going to come from, and yeah, I'm gonna have to read a few sci-fi books to see what sort of language is being used there. And the basic mode of operation is, as any text-based adventure game, is you type in the commands you want to do. So what we can see right now, as a matter of fact, we're going to zoom back in real quick. What we can see right now is that it gives me the description, it gives me the menu right now, which, by the way, we're in the story mode. We're not really in the inventory, but I haven't programmed the inventory yet, so nothing to see there. But it does tell you where we're located. We're located in a ruined house in the living room, and it gives it the description. Down here, if my game data says that in this living room, there is a container, a cigar box in this case, it is going to list it in yellow. So everything that's in yellow can be interacted with. And it's got a little bit of a description. On the table, coffee table. Yep, that's... I updated it in the code, but I didn't upload the file. So it also says that you see kitchen door, rotting basement door, and staircase up. These are slightly darker, and these list the directions in which you can go to traverse the environment. So what we can do here is type in something like, there's keyword commands that are used for controlling the application, depending on what it is that you're attempting to do. In this case, if we want to enter the another room, we either use enter or go to. So we can do enter. And let's do kitchen. There we go. Long half-obliterated kitchen with a partially collapsed wall and ceiling. Shards of glass, rusted appliance, shattered ceramic, and bent Tupperware are sprinkled all over the floor. And, oh yeah. There we go. So I'm going to press enter, skip that. This room doesn't really have a lot to it. As I said, this is kind of a testing environment for me to see how I can traverse the level, but I am having a lot of fun kind of writing up the descriptions for these environments, because it really allows me to build up the atmosphere. And if you hear really carefully, there is music playing. It's a little distorted because I haven't figured out the circuitry for the amplifier. It's super super messed up right now. But there's supposed to be containers that the player is capable of interacting with. As a matter of fact, we can actually take a look at one of the containers in the back in the living room, that cigar box. So if I'm gonna do enter, as a matter of fact, what happens if you do open kitchen? Well, it says there's no boxes, crates, containers in this room to open. So specific keywords are reserved to control specific aspects of the game. Open is reserved for opening containers. If we take a look at the really old text-based adventure games, they usually go above and beyond with parsers. They can detect anything and everything you could be meaning. So I haven't really gotten to that level. I have a very strict set of commands that you use to control the game, and so far, open is reserved for opening containers. So instead, we're going to do enter, and actually, what's interesting is that if you ever see this description, the last message, if you really want to get the description of the room you're still currently in, you can do look, and I do have some buggy keyboard behavior that I have to program with debouncing and some circuitry so that we don't get double click on some of the keys, because that can get annoying. Look around. And that's going to give me the description of the room again. And as you can see, it says right here, living room door. I don't have to look around to be able to enter the living room door. It's just for me showcasing the command set that's currently in here. So we can do enter, and we'll do... I can actually just type in enter living. So as long as this word is located in the name of the door, living room door, let's say if it's living, or even if it's just the word door, it is going to take us back to the living room. However, what if I go to the door here? Because you can see we have a kitchen door, rotten basement door, and staircase up. So what if I enter door here? Well, you see, we need to be more specific. There's multiple options: kitchen door and rotting basement door. So it kind of tries to figure out that if you're trying to enter the door, it doesn't just shove you into the first door. It actually warns you that you're about to go into a door you may not think you're going into. For example, if the door you're about to walk into is the kitchen, but it ended up shoving you in the basement, and there's a bunch of aggroed, NPCs in the basement, then probably not a good idea. So it kind of tries to safeguard a little bit in that case to avoid confusion. So we'll do look around. There we go. Dilapidated living room. Okay, so in this case we can go enter. Let's go upstairs. So we'll do stair. So because the word staircase is only located in one of these exits, I can just type in enter stair. And it's going to give me the description of the staircase. A long hallway with an angled ceiling, laid with ruined, rotting carpets and decorated with framed photographs along the wall. Some of the pictures have faded to white, others that hung in the shadows, still reminiscing barely intelligible silhouettes of their subjects. I like the hunting feeling of this sort of descriptive language. So gonna try my best to incorporate some spooky horror. I really like horror. I really like horror, and I really like science fiction, especially when there's also mystery and it's all concocted together, which is why the Fallout series was such a left such a huge impression on me. Let me have some voice cracks over here like a true teenager. All right, let's enter. Oh yeah, so you see, if I misspell this, press enter, it's actually going to give me some responses that it doesn't know what the hell's going on. And if I press enter just repeatedly without typing commands, same thing. Okay, so let's go back to enter. Oh, enter living. Okay, there we go. Let's take a look at that opening of a box, shall we? So we got a cigar crate, cigar box. I can run the open command now, open box. So there's only one item here with the word box in it, so I can just type in open box. This, by the way, allows me to have multiple cigar boxes, like cigar box 2, cigar box 3, destroyed cigar box, maybe like a rotten cigar box. As long as they have something different about their name, either a number or some sort of description, I can have multiple cigar boxes in one single room. So, for example, in this in the open world, and this is supposed to be like kind of like open world-ish. In the open world, if you enter, let's say, like a dilapidated office building, there's going to be a lot of filing cabinets. So for that purpose, I can have multiple filing cabinets that you can go through. Now, in this case, as soon as you open the cigar box, it will show you the inventory of the cigar box. And of course, the whole point of this entire project is it's not just to make a text-based game. It's to make a text-based game whose functionality is deeply rooted in the physical realm. So I could just make a text-based game where you type in every single command, but let's be honest, if I'm going to do that, let's just make a mobile game and put it on App Store and Play Store on Android and just call it a day. In this case, since I'm decided to make it into a physical hardware, I want to push that particular aspect of the physical hardware. So when this little menu comes up, what you can do is use this little set of switches to select the item which you would like to interact with. And this little button here, if you click on it, little menu pops up. I really like the old school design and these little retro CRT, fake CRT effects running up and down. Now, I haven't programmed the ability to take it into your inventory or inspect it. For the inspection, what I'm planning on doing is using a separate mini monitor, separate mini screen, which I'm gonna get right now. Right, it's something along the lines of either this, which is, that's just a plastic shell, either this, or there is an even bigger one that looks really cool, like something like this. There we go. So for size comparison, if I set this thing side by side, it's about yay big, right? So side by side. So as you can see, it's a smaller monitor, and what I want to do is in this item, if you press, let's say, inspect, it's going to show you the stats of the item. If it's a consumable, what sort of effects it has, the value, the name of the item, maybe a little icon, like in the Pip-Boy, little icon image to show you what the item is all about, and just provide you with like a little secondary screen just for the heck of it, just because I want to have a little secondary screen, because I think it would look really, really, really cool. So that's kind of what I'm going to be experimenting with soon, a little secondary display output. But for now, the only thing that I have is that I've programmed is just the ability to cancel this. All right, and if I want to exit out of this, we're going to type in close. There we go, and that closes the container. So this is running on a Raspberry Pi 3 Plus, and because it's a text-based game, I don't have to really pay too much attention to the frame rate, because I mean it's running at 9 frames per second. So this computer is kind of barely hanging on to the, well, it's barely satisfying the ability to even run this in the first place. There's some optimization that I could go through, but the funny thing is that because it's a text-based game and it's running on a retro computer-esque environment, it doesn't really matter that much. I mean, the Raspberry Pi Compute Module 4 came out only a few weeks ago, technically, and it's not available in Canada yet, so, boo-hoo. Gotta test with the Compute Module 3 for now. But they decided to go for a different format. Instead of that RAM stick style, they decided to go for a very, very different format that involves these like super micro pins, which look way too modern. and I kind of hate it, but they have to do it in order to allow for more bandwidth. But apparently, it also has a lot more power because it's a Raspberry Pi 4, so it runs the same hardware as a fully fledged Raspberry Pi 4 development board, which means more power means more frame rate, right? The funny thing is that if I don't print a lot of text, the frame rate goes up, and I have it capped at 15 frames. It probably goes up to about 25 or 30 frames, and I am asking a lot of visuals to be performed by what is essentially a very small computer. So the fact that it's actually even running in the first place is nothing short of a miracle. And the huge shout out to the developers of Pygame, which is the engine that runs on Python, which is also supported on a Raspberry Pi, because without that engine, this would not have been possible. I tried developing this interface in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and there was no way to actually make that happen because the audio playback was way too choppy. And essentially this meant that I had to run it in a browser, and there's no browser that could run this thing smoothly. So Python it is with Pygame. Like honestly, it's a text-based game. Like there's no need for us to look at like speeds of the animations and frame rates and all that stuff. It's really just not necessary in that regard. So as long as I don't dip it into like 5 frames, because that would be kind of ridiculous. It really depends on how much text I'm printing. So if I do look around, and we'll get back to here, so you see it goes back to like 9 frames. And if I do open box, I'm drawing some rectangles and text in a loop, so it goes to 8 frames. And then I think that's about it. Yeah, I think that for now this is the lowest that I've gotten to. So yeah, this is the interface. A lot of the stuff that I want to do with this little unit is supposed to be rooted in the physical hardware. So these big old, very satisfyingly clicky rotary switches, these supposed to switch between the different modes in the game. Meaning that we have the story, you can see it in the top left corner right here. If I switch, we get inventory. So all of this is supposed to go away and show you the inventory. And of course, there's multiple inventory categories. So we're talking about the consumables, we're talking about weapons, and we're talking about armor. So it's all like RPG stuff based. And junk, notes. You can kind of switch between the categories using this switch right here. It's so much fun. These are really, really clicky. And we got journal, so this is where your quests and quest tasks are going to be listed. Map, so I am going to have a little mini map, so you have some sort of a physical representation of where you might be. And we got the character statistics, so this is where your stats and perks come in. And main menu, save, load the game, reset, maybe set some settings like the loudness of the music, loudness of sound effects, maybe the color of the user interface, stuff like that. So this is the basic idea of what I'm trying to do. And so far so good. Today was the day when I had programmed in the traversal between rooms and environments. So today was a very, very fun day to have this to be working on this, because I can actually traverse between levels now. I can technically start building a level. I still have to do things like locked doors and items, the inventory, so maybe that's going to be my my next step, but it is going fairly smoothly. For the physical aspect, there's quite a lot of things that I have yet to add. These switches, this little button, I've only added that today. This is supposed to be the menu selector. This is supposed to be the sub-menu selector. This little joystick, originally I put it in to control the graphical user interface of the operating system, but it's technically just acting as a mouse. This little controller here is the Arduino Nano, yeah. And it basically, what it's doing is it's reading the state of all these buttons, as well as the joystick, and it's converting it to keyboard, like legitimate keyboard and mouse device. So I could plug in this little USB from the Raspberry Pi into the computer, and I could type in stuff right here with the computer. This little add-on button right here that I kind of tacked on afterwards. This is supposed to be the modifier key, which will convert your WASD letters into numbers and symbols, so that could also be utilized in the project. We got the 2 space buttons, so this is for holding it kind of like this. You can see how big it is based on my ginormous ape-sized palms, and a lot of things that I want to have in this game were inspired from Fallout. So things like lockpicking, hacking terminals, the player stats, perks. However, I was listening to the Fallout 1 post-mortem presentation on GDC on the YouTube channel, which was very fascinating, because from that little presentation I have found out about the sources of inspiration for the Fallout series. So things like the movies, The Boy with the Dog, Road Warrior. I haven't really watched these movies. The City of the Lost Children, all of that was mentioned in the videos, and I thought it was probably going to be a good idea to watch these movies and analyze them and see, for me to use the same source of inspiration as the developers did. And same thing with the books. I actually got the book. Oh god, I don't remember what the name is. But they listed a few books, and I had a few credits on Audible, so I got those books, and I'm listening to them as I'm programming this. But the base of it all is I'm trying to use the same sources of inspiration, but from what I understood, the developers of Fallout, they had developed their own RPG system, which is something that I didn't think was even a thing that you would do. From what I understood, I took a look at games like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, and I looked at how they handled their perks and their level up system, their RPG mechanic, and I figured, well, okay, that's how RPG games are made. But apparently, they did some pretty innovative things with the way the RPG perks and level up system, their special system, the strength, charisma, intelligence, yada yada yada. That was their own uniquely developed system. So that was kind of interesting to me. So I might have to do something of the same, because from the sound of it, the special system that they are using in Fallout is technically something that I probably would not be using directly, because it's probably going to be considered copyright material. So I'll have to come up with my own RPG system. Anyways, I'm recording this on the phone. I got 0.1 gigabyte of space left before this thing cuts out, and I have to re-record it again because it's going to corrupt my video. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll do more videos as I make more progress, and I'll see you guys in the next video.